It's Dr. Wendy. I had such a great response with my last Zoom interview that I decided to do another one. Today, I am going to be interviewing Mark Edgar Stevens. He is a personal and professional development coach. He is the author of Who Are You Choosing to Be? And somebody's going to win this book. Mark has worked with Fortune 500 companies, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations. He has been on every major network and news shows from ABC to VH1. And he's the only person that I know that's been on Oprah twice. I am so fortunate to say that Mark has been a friend and mentor to me since 2003, so I feel very blessed to have him in my life. And today, you're gonna get to meet him. Welcome, Mark. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Wendy. You look great.
Thank you.
I am so glad to see you guys doing so well during this really crazy time. Thank you for the intro, and I hope that by the end of this interview, people know me the way that you do, which is just a regular person doing his absolute best, just like everybody else, but hopefully making things a little bit better rather than making things a little bit worse.
Yeah, for sure. Before I start, so I'd like people to know how we met. So there was a Saturday morning, Gary was sleeping, I'm downstairs watching this TV show called Date Patrol, right? That's what the name of it was, Date, okay. So it was a show about doing kind of makeovers with people, but not just external, but internal. And so Mark was working with this guy, and I was mesmerized about what he was doing with him. And so Gary comes downstairs, and I said, you got to watch this guy. I said, I want to work with him. And then that was it. But people who know my husband, you know Gary now, right? I can't remember the full story, but I think he called like your agent, he called the TV show, he called everybody, and it's like, who is this person? And then all of a sudden I had a sticky note on my desk one day that says, you're going to be working with Mark Edgar Stevens. And then the rest was history, right?
That's exact. So here's what was happening on my end. Yes, it was my agent. He had called, he'd either called the network or the production company. We were working with TLC, and I got one or two notes. And at first I thought, oh, I don't know who this is. I don't know, what this may be. But after I got the second or third one, I don't remember how many it was, I thought, I should call this person back. And then when I realized, okay, it's a good person. And he's like, my wife wants to work with you. And I said, okay, great, let's do it. And I think the segment that you saw, Wendy, it was one of our guys who was afraid of taking chances, afraid of taking risks. And he rode a baby bull, not a great big bull, but he rode a baby bull. And that changed his whole life. That guy still writes to me from time to time. And he said, Mark, after that, he said, there was nothing that I was afraid of. I just thought, anything that I have to do, I can do it. So I'm so glad you saw that segment.
Yeah, that was so great. Okay. So, one of the biggest things that I love and respect about you is you are absolutely amazing at always being able to find the blessing in something. Right now is a turbulent and very uncertain time for a lot of people. How can they find their blessing right now?
So Wendy, it's a great question. And it's very interesting because especially when we're dealing with something like what's going on right now with the pandemic, and it is the most uncertain of times that we have been in our lifetime. Sometimes when we look at bankruptcy, when we look at the end of a relationship, we look at sickness, we look at disease, any of these things, it wants to take the majority of our focus. So our focus goes to these other things that make us just focus on these things that are not so good. Finding the blessing for me is always about one of three things: looking at love, gratitude, and forgiveness. So when we look at love, gratitude, or forgiveness, every situation, every difficulty, every challenge that we face or that we take a look at has some sort of a blessing in it. And even if that blessing is taking a look at it and realizing, hey, there is something I can do about this proactively, or, hey, you know what? I have to accept what I'm feeling about this, because what we find is when we accept what we're feeling about something, actually the pain of the thing goes away. So for instance, let's take the pandemic that's going on right now. If we stay in a doom scrolling frame of mind and we're always looking for what's wrong, we're going to stay in what's wrong and we're going to stay in the fear. But if we say, hey, I've got more time to do some of the things that I've wanted to do. I've got more time with my family because I can't get away from them because we're all in the house together. I've got more time to write or to read or to exercise, you can find blessings in absolutely anything. So a very strong example of that, a client years ago said, listen, I had a sister that passed away, cancer. And he said, I can't find a blessing in that. I don't know what the blessing is. And I said, you know what, tell me about those last, weeks with your sister. And he starts telling me the story, and he tells the story, a few smiles come to his face. And I said, okay, so tell me what was the blessing in those last few weeks. He said, I'm telling you, there is no blessing. I said, you told me it was previous in the conversation, it was some of the best quality time you had ever spent with your sister. And yes, it was in those last few weeks of her life, but the blessing is you got a chance to love her more deeply. You got a chance to share that love more deeply. And so there's great blessing in that, because we cannot control the world and the external circumstances of what's happening. But if you can find love, gratitude, or forgiveness in anything, then you're finding the blessing.
That's great. Every day we're making countless choices, from the mundane of should I turn left or should I turn right, to the critical of should I quit my job and go back to school. We are choosing everything from moving forward into happiness or regressing backwards into pain and frustration. What are the simple skills that we can implement to be better at making choices for ourselves that we can move closer to joy?
Great. Wendy, this is a great question. And it's a great question because when we make deliberate decisions, it leads to action that can actually make our lives feel happier, more joyful, more satisfactory, even less painful. And this is a twofold answer for me. Number one is, as you know, and as our folks will now know, one of the things I absolutely love in life is body language. So I'm a body language specialist. It's part of the work that I do. And the body is always talking to us. You, as a healer, as a chiropractor, you understand this. The body is either in alignment or it's out of alignment. And when the body is out of alignment, it's telling us that something is off. I'm stressed. I'm not eating something I shouldn't be eating. I need to rest better. There's something that's out of alignment. And this is not about blaming, oh, I did something wrong. It's about simply tuning into the body and asking the body, what do I need to be paying attention to right now? So there is a breathing exercise, which maybe we'll get to in just a bit, but there is a breathing exercise that I do that gets us in touch with the body. And when we get in touch with the body will say, oh, something is a pain in the neck, or, oh, I need to close my eyes and rest, or, oh, I need more water, or, wow, I'm focused on the wrong thing. And if I focus on something that is not love, gratitude, or forgiveness, I'm going to not feel my best. The body will tell you by a headache, a neck ache, adrenal glands that get, depleted, an upset stomach, hips that feel out of whack, feet that feel sore. All of this will tell you something, and the body is always talking to you. So if you listen to the body, it will say something is out of alignment. Now, if you breathe deeply in your day and your body feels amazing and there's a smile on your face and your heart feels open and your shoulders are back, probably things are going pretty well for you. One of the things that you can do, though, is you can actually change your body language. You can actually mimic body language that feels very positive, that feels very up and confident, lifting the chin up, pulling the shoulders back, putting a smile on the face, standing up straight, breathing deeply. And then what happens is, just like that old song called Young at Heart, for it's hard you will find to be narrow of mind when you're young at heart. When you are feeling your best, you can see more possibilities. And when you see more possibilities, you actually find yourself in a better feeling place. And it allows you to make choices that are more in alignment with joy, happiness, and health. If you are not in a good feeling place or in an optimal state of well-being, you tend not to make choices that are best for you. The second part of this really is paying attention to, just simply, does it make you expand or does it make you contract? And if something makes you expand, chances are it is something that you really want to do. Expansion looks like this. It looks like a smile on the face, looks like little crinkles around the eyes, looks like maybe a laugh, looks like the body feeling bigger. Getting smaller is, oh my gosh, I'm worried about this. I'm closing in on myself. And if you make the choice that leads to fear, chances are you're not going to enjoy where that choice leads. But if you choose something that leads to expansion, chances are it's going to take you to some really wonderful places. That's how I make choices in my life. Final part of this, and it's a long answer, but final part of this, there's something that I have started to do on a daily basis, and that is to ask myself if the choices that I'm making are best for me, best for others, and best for the world. And if it's all three of those things, then that's a great choice. If there's one of those things that's out of whack, I just need to keep asking some more questions about it to see if it's best for me, best for those around me, and best for the, best for the world or best for the planet. Now that's a big question to ask, and that's choice at a really huge level. But I think we're in a time where if we start asking ourselves those types of questions, the potential to make choices that lead to a better feeling self, a better feeling population, and a better feeling planet, that potential becomes exponentially increased.
Yeah, that's great. That is so good. Yeah.
I'm just thinking now how long that answer is. So somebody's gonna have to go back and play it again and go, what was that? Oh, right.
That's good though. You're good.
Good.
So for a lot of us right now, we're living our lives in a great deal of uncertainty. One of our 6 human needs is the need for certainty, the need for safety, stability, security, comfort, order, predictability, control, consistency. What can we do to bring more certainty into our life?
Again, a great question. And it's a great question because at this particular time, we are living in the greatest uncertainty that we've lived in our lifetimes. And Wendy, if we go back and we think about our ancestors, before we had electricity, before there were all the modern conveniences, they lived in a constant state of uncertainty. The winter could decide if you lived or if you died. The spring, the way that the rain fell in the springtime would decide if you were eating in the fall or not. If we go all the way back to some of the Thanksgiving traditions, it's all about making it through those hard times. Now, we have lived in a place, in a point in time in history where most of us, not all, we've had shelter. Food is very easy. We go to the grocery store, we click a button for heat or for air. We have hospitals, we have healthcare practitioners that we can go to when we're not feeling our best. So we've been in a state of relative, especially in the United States, of relative certainty compared with older times. This time, feeling this uncertainty, one of the reasons that it's shaking us up so much is because we've gotten so comfortable with the idea of I can flick a switch, I can order things online, I can go get toilet paper from the store, all of these things that were really a big deal when this whole thing started. So as far as uncertainty, in external circumstances, meaning things that are outside of here and outside of here, the body and the mind, you cannot control what's going on. If a hurricane is coming, a hurricane is coming. If an earthquake is happening, an earthquake is happening. But what you can control, what you can be certain about, is going back into what's going on inside of these thoughts. And if your thoughts choose love, gratitude, forgiveness, then you will find your mind starting to spiral into a place that's certain, because I can be certain and choose where I'm focusing my thoughts. And if I focus my thoughts on love, gratitude, forgiveness, making the world a better place, listening to my body, listening to what it's telling me, taking a look at what I'm eating, what I'm doing with my time. If I do any of those things, then I'm certain, because I'm making the conscious choice about where I'm focused and what I'm doing, independent of what's going on in the world around me, because the world is going to continue doing what it's doing. But the choice that I make in here, what I choose to focus on, what I'm deliberate with, that's then what changes my external experience of the world. And by the way, you and I spoke a little bit earlier, my external experience of the world, despite what's going on right now, is actually quite positive because of spending time in nature, socially distanced and with a mask, of course, but spending time in nature, taking a look at what I'm eating, cooking a little bit more, not always so successfully, but at least going for it. I'm doing some things that I haven't put time and attention into before, because the blessing is that I can make conscious choices to better myself and to enjoy what I can, to find these blessings and enjoy what I can during this time, because I cannot control the world, but I can control what I'm thinking and focusing on.
So true. So true. All right. Breathing. We love breathing. So I remember years ago you told me you can never breathe too deeply. Would you be kind enough to explain to everyone what that means, and kind enough to share us with your breathing techniques that you recommend to your clients?
Yes. So there are a few things about breathing. And I'm just going to break it down really quickly. When we breathe really deeply, we bring more oxygen into the body. We oxygenate the blood. And when we oxygenate the blood, we actually feel better. Here's the other part of it. The word inspire comes from an inspiration of breath. We inspire, we take air into the body. And when we stop and we breathe very, very deeply, it actually slows us down. It slows us down mentally and it slows us down physically. If we then take a look at also the way that we reprogram ourselves, or the way that we retrain ourselves, if we take a look at yoga, if we take a look at physical training, if we take a look at hurt parts of our body, when we breathe into those hurt parts of our body and give it some attention, it usually responds. Yoga is all about deep breathing. Meditation is about deep breathing. This deep breathing is the building block of life. We can go days without food. We can go hours without water, but you can't go more than a few minutes without air and without breathing. And one of the things that I've noticed, Wendy, and this is a very interesting thing, and then we'll do the exercise, is that during this time, and I found it with myself also, sometimes people could breathe in, but I was noticing that not everybody was letting all of the breath out, almost like they were holding on to some breath. And I'd say, you know what, let all the breath out. And I noticed I was doing it sometimes too, when I would get up into my head and I'd go, oh, I'm not letting all of the breath out. And letting all of the breath out is about not being afraid that there's more air that can come in. Mm-hmm. And of all crazy things at this time during COVID-19, affecting, respiratory, affecting the way that we breathe deeply, and not being able to have that full circulation of air. So one of the things that I focus on is let it all out. I don't need to hold on to any of this, and let me breathe it all back in. Then, and I watched you just breathe deeply just then. That was beautiful. And then when we're doing that, it allows the mind and allows the body to reconnect, so that once again, we can get deliberate about what we're thinking and what we're feeling and what we're doing. So I broke it down into a 3-step exercise. I am not the only one who does this. I call it deliberate breathing. Some people call it mindful breathing, conscious breathing, call it whatever you want, just do it. And it specifically, Wendy, was for clients like you, because you don't have 5 minutes between patients to stop and breathe deeply. In fact, you told me once, Mark, I only have the time when I'm washing my hands between clients. And I said to you, Wendy, could you take 3 deep breaths during that time that you're washing your hands? And you said, yeah, actually that would be good, because the 30 seconds to 1 minute that takes, you're getting your hands clean between clients, because Wendy's a very clean, wonderful practitioner. And also you breathe deeply. And here's what the 3 breath deliberate breathing process looks like. The first breath is simply identifying what's going on in the body, a part of your body that's calling your attention. Because remember, earlier I said the body is always talking to you. It's telling you where you're in or you're out of alignment. So the first deep breath will be identifying, is there something that hurts, something that's painful, something that's calling my attention? The second deep breath is about breathing into that area, but not doing anything about it. You're not trying to make it go away. You're not judging it as right or wrong. You're just breathing into it, giving it some attention, like a crying baby. You give a crying baby some attention, and sometimes that's all it needs to start to calm down a little bit. The third breath is called a free breath. And that free breath is all about letting it expand through the body. And people almost always, find something really beautiful in that third free breath, because you find quite often, not always, and you don't have to, but you find that if you had some, pain right up here, that pain somehow feels a little bit better. So you can actually do something to change the way that your body is feeling. And in the work that you do, how important is that? Because if people can actually affect the way they're feeling in the mind and in the body, then your adjustments, your realignment that you're helping them with, it has a better chance of staying. It has a better chance of staying congruent. So here's what it looks like. And we're going to do it all together, world of whoever's watching us. So we're going to take the first deep breath. You and I together, Wendy. Let's take it. Here we go. Okay, interesting. I felt something right here, which I was not even aware of, right here, right around my clavicle. And I think it's because I've been keeping this arm raised up because I've been working on the computer more. So where did you feel it? I know, right? Where did you feel it?
Like my bra line.
Okay. Second deep breath. You're going to take a breath into that. Don't do anything about it. I'm going to breathe into my clavicle. Okay, here we go. Second deep breath. Wendy, something really interesting just happened. What's that right in the ear? Sometimes when you do like an adjustment and something in the ear pops,
Yeah.
that just popped. So this kind of dropped and then my ear popped. So it was like, okay, I've been holding tension from there to there.
Right, your SCM.
Yeah.
Mastoideus. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I had no idea until just now because we're doing this, my own exercise. I'm like, oh, wow, that's what it was. And it just dropped and gave me some relief. What happened for you?
I just feel more relaxed.
Okay. Third deep breath. Don't do anything about it. Just breathe into the whole body and feel what happens.
Okay.
I'll ask you first. What happened?
Well, now I could go take a nap, but
Yeah, you could, because that's the whole point. By the time you take that third deep breath, you feel more relaxed. And if you feel more relaxed in the body, you feel more relaxed in the mind, and then you can make conscious, deliberate choices from that state of being. Now, you and I doing this, it took at least a full minute or more because I was explaining it, but you can do this in about 30 seconds. I suggest people do it when they first get up in the morning. I do it to check, what am I feeling? I do it anytime I'm feeling that sort of crunchy kind of feeling of like, oh, you know, I'm a little off. And I also do it at night. Like, what am I feeling, you know, right now? For me, that third deep breath, that time, it was interesting because I had a shift. It moved down to my lower back, and it moved down to my lower back because I realized what I've been doing. And as I lean into the camera is this, I've been leaning forward and doing this. So it just reminded me, Mark, stop. Like, I just really just got this. Like, it reminded me, stop, drop this shoulder, breathe, check your posture. Because if I'm going to be working on the computer more, which I am these days, I need to keep checking back in with my body, because I don't want to get any of that stuff that happens chronically when we're constantly doing the same physical motion over and over and over again. That's how it works, simply, the breathing exercise, deliberate breathing.
that's great. And what people don't realize when they're doing that chest breathing, they're up and down, they're in that sympathetic fight or flight all day long.
Mm-hmm.
When you take that deep, like abdominal breath, like it puts you into that parasympathetic, the calming. You may feel your tummy gurgle because now your like digestion is happening. When we're in that state of fight or flight, life is literally fight or flight all day long. And that's what I've noticed with people. So when I'm working with people, I try to get them to breathe, like maybe as I'm adjusting their middle back or something, like take a breath in, let it out. So at least I know that they've had that belly breath in the office, right? But we need to think everything that we can do to calm, and breathing is so great to put us in that parasympathetic calm.
So exactly what you said, agreeing with it 100% and taking it just one step farther. Because these are stressful times, because the news and everything that we see actually adds to that stress, because it's in the ether, you know, it's everywhere. The more we can bring ourselves to that state of calm, the better it is for us mentally and physically. And there is something else from a body language point of view. When we breathe, really, when we're chest breathers, people who are seeing chest breathers, we tend not to trust them as much because they look anxious. They're in a state of fight or flight, as you said. If we breathe more deeply, we trust those people more because they look like they're more grounded, more confident, less ready to run. They're everything about them feels more grounded. So it's not only that we put ourselves in a state of more calm and being more grounded and feeling our digestion. Also, if we're on Zoom meetings in the business world, we are seen as someone who's more confident and taking better care of the moment. Whereas if somebody's breathing really deeply, we are asking ourselves, why are they in the state of fight or flight? Do they not trust what they're saying? And it may have nothing to do with what they're saying. It just has to do with the state they're in at that moment. So deep, deliberate breathing. If you get nothing else from this, everybody breathe deeply and deliberately. The world can use it right now. You can use it right now. That's good for you. That's good for the people around you. And that's good for the planet because you're putting out carbon dioxide, which is great for the plants.
Great. Okay. So we've heard the term, or the saying, energy flows where attention goes. So it's kind of a little redundant here, but what are some of the techniques or strategies to help shift?
Okay, so this is great. So we've hit on a couple of these, and I want to add one more to it. So one is the deep, deliberate breathing, because it brings you back into a state of not only neutral, but really more groundedness. The other is focusing on love, gratitude, forgiveness, which we've already hit. The other is asking yourself, what is the blessing? What is the blessing? And finding the blessing in absolutely everything that we do. But let's talk about truly focused attention for a moment. So focused attention, wherever you focus your attention, that is exactly I'm going to say it a slightly different way. What will happen is you will prove yourself right with wherever your attention is. See, I told you that was going to go wrong. See, I told you we should have done that. See, I told you this was going to be a bad thing, because whatever it is that you focus on, and people who are complainers, people who are negative or tend to be in a negative state of mind, they will always find what's wrong. You can have 100 people, and we know this very well, 100 people can experience the exact same thing, see the exact same thing, and you can have 100 different versions of that experience, because it's subjective based upon what we're feeling. Whatever we focus on, that determines our external experience of the world. So we're having a pandemic, we're having this COVID-19. If I focus on everything that could be wrong and might be wrong and that scares me and all of those things, I am not going to be in a state where I can see the day is beautiful, the wind is blowing, nature is still out there, the pollution is cleared up a little, I've got more time to do more things that I want to do. I'm sitting here talking with my friend. You know, like, I don't get to focus on those things because now I'm focusing on everything that could be wrong or could go wrong. So this new thing that I want to say is for 2 minutes or more, 2 minutes or more, that's the latest in terms of these types of studies. 2 minutes or more, if you can focus on something that lifts you up, something that inspires you, and I call them inspirationators. And inspirationators are things that not only inspire you, but also motivate you, because we can be motivated by fear, but fear is not inspiring. What is inspiring are children, animals, the beauty of nature, healing, health, friends, love, gratitude, forgiveness. So for 2 minutes or more, if you can focus on the things that lift you up, an inspirationator, if you can focus on Wendy, if you can focus on the beautiful tree outside, if you can focus on your son, your daughter, your goddaughter, your godson, children playing in the park, even with their masks on, whatever you can focus on for 2 minutes or more, it will actually change what you're focused on, what you're thinking about, which will change the way that you're feeling, so that you might go from a really closed in place to a more open, deep breathing place. And if you can start practicing that and doing it consistently, focusing on an inspirationator 2 minutes or more, you will start to find yourself in a constant state of practicing happiness, health, attention, focus. And that brings us back to full circle, the song. Fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you if you're young at heart. For it's hard, you will find, to be narrow of mind if you're young at heart. So being young at heart is not about focusing on the bad things in life. Being young at heart is about focusing on all the good things. I had an 88-year-old friend. She passed away a couple of years ago. And she said to me, Mark, when you get older, do not hang out with people that think old. It's no fun. All they do is complain about what's wrong. She says, hang out with people that are fun and dress up on Halloween and, do silly things. And she did that all the way up until her death. She was somebody who knew how to focus on all those things that felt good. And up until the end, she was still finding things to laugh about. So that's where it is. We have a choice. We can choose who we are being, because we can either focus on the things that don't lift us up, that don't make us feel good, or we can practice focusing our attention on inspirationators, the things that lift us up and the things that make us feel our best, even during times of a pandemic.
True, true, true. It's so true. Okay. Oh, I guess I'm done with my questions. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I guess there's one more thing I'd like to add. That Wendy is one person putting good things out there. I'm one person trying to put good things out there. But I think that what we're being called to do right now, I think what we're really being called to do is ask ourselves, what's the good that I can put out there? And if there's something good that you're putting out there, this is the time to put it out there. If you write, if you work with plants, if you work with animals, if you work with children, if you work with the elderly, if you're good at talking, if you're good at active listening, whatever it is, find the thing that you're good at, even if you don't think it's valuable, and value it, and find a way to use it to make the world a better place. And then one more thing. When this whole thing first started, one of the things I was asking clients to do is I said, Find 3 things that you can do every day that doesn't depend on anybody else and doesn't depend on, so you can socially distance, and doesn't depend on anything other than something that you can control in your atmosphere. For me, that was singing every day, whether anybody heard it or not, that was for me. Writing every day, because writing is something I enjoy, and taking a walk in nature. Now, I live in Southern California, so I'm very fortunate because I can walk on the beach, I can walk in nature, completely social distanced. But find 3 things that you can do every day that you enjoy, something, a topic you like to study, something you like to read about, a type of thing that you like to read about, a type of exercise that you enjoy, something that you enjoy making, whatever it may be. Find someone you enjoy talking to. Find 3 things that you can do every day and give some time to those 3 things. It will do so much for your state of well-being in your mind, in your heart, and in your body.
That's true. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So where can my viewers, my patients, whoever's watching, find out more about you and your work?
So you can always go to my website, which is www.markedgarstevens.com. That's MarkedGarstevens.com. Now, my website is really geared toward the personal and professional coaching that I'm doing with a lot of corporations, a lot of businesses, small businesses, but I'm still doing a lot of work one-on-one with folks, whether it's on the professional side or the personal side. I absolutely enjoy both. What I'm being asked to do a lot more these days is a lot more of this type of work, where I've got one coming up where I'm working with best buddies. And that's people with some developmental challenges. And so we're going to be doing some work with best buddies coming up in a couple of weeks. I also get to do some work with the breast cancer, the 3-day walk with the breast cancer survivors and people who are seeking to put an end to breast cancer. I get the opportunity to do a lot of Zoom meetings and workshop meetings. I just worked with a real estate company or a real estate team that is doing more and more virtual showings and working using the computer. So if you have need for somebody like me who can help people feel better in a virtual online setting, reach out, take a look at the website. You can contact me that way. And then the other thing that you can do, just like Wendy said, my book is called Who Are You Choosing to Be? It's on Amazon. You can put in Who Are You Choosing to Be? Type in my name. If it doesn't show up right away, Mark Edgar Stevens. You will see the book there. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you can download it for free, which is great. You can share it with people. I have it so that people can loan it out for 14 days to other people. You can order the physical book if you want to. If you order the book, a lot of what we talked about today is there in the book. And the big part about it is, yes, I do want to see the book sell. Of course I do. Everybody would want that. But on top of that, more than any other time since the book first came out, there are things in there that you can use to actually change the way that you're feeling, change the way that you're thinking. And if the book helps you to do that, please do it. Please lend it. Please share the material. You don't have to you don't have to drop a quarter in the bucket every time you share something that's in the book. Share it. I think it's good material. I think it can help the world. That's one of my contributions. So if you decide that you want to buy the book or read the book, share the material. Share the material because it can help. You don't even have to use my name. Just share it because it's good material. And this is a time when we need to do it. We need to put our best out there. So that's a mouthful to say, there you go.
This time, like what we're going through, I totally agree. So somebody, when the newsletter comes out with this interview, scroll down, see if your name is in there, if you won the book. So thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate you greatly. And this was wonderful. And I know that they're going to get a lot out of it. So
thank you, Wendy. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep doing the great work that you're doing. I so appreciate you.
Thank you.